Admiral Dae-ho Kim stood at the large window of the Earth Defense Command Station, looking at the stars. His dark uniform reflected the soft blue light from nearby Earth, and his face showed deep worry. He had just received news that would change everything. "Admiral, the transmission is ready for review," said his assistant, placing a datapad on the steel desk behind him. The message came from the Galactic Alliance, and its contents made his stomach turn. For 300 years, two powerful alien civilizations had been fighting a war that spread across thousands of star systems. The Meridians, with their crystal ships and energy weapons, fought against the Centrarch Dominion, whose massive metal warships could tear apart moons. Both sides had tried many times to get humans to join their fight. But humans had always said no. They stayed neutral, building their own technology and protecting their space. Earth's leaders knew that joining either side would only bring death and destruction to humanity. So they waited, watched, and learned from the war that seemed would never end. Admiral Kim touched the screen of the datapad. A hologram appeared, showing the destruction of a Meridian planet. The images made him clench his fists. The Centrarchs had used a new weapon, something that made the planet's core unstable. 2 billion Meridian civilians had died as their world broke apart. "Get me Fleet Commander Park," he ordered, his voice steady despite his anger, "and call an emergency meeting of the Earth Council." 20 minutes later, Admiral Kim walked into the council chamber. The room was round, with seats for 50 representatives from Earth and its colonies. Fleet Commander Hanji Park was already there, wearing her combat uniform. She had just returned from the outer colonies, where Earth's ships constantly patrolled for any sign of the war coming too close to human space. "The evidence is clear," Commander Park said, standing before the council. She played the recordings from the destroyed Meridian world. The council members watched in silence as the planet cracked like an egg, its pieces drifting into space. The Centrarchs have crossed a line. They didn't just attack military targets, they killed billions of civilians. This weapon they used could destroy any planet, including Earth. Admiral Kim stepped forward. "For 3 centuries, we've stayed out of this war. We've built our defenses, improved our technology, and protected our people. But now we face a choice. We can keep watching from the sidelines until the Centrarchs win and turn their planet killer weapon on us, or we can act." An older council member stood up. "The Meridians aren't innocent in this war either. They've destroyed their share of worlds." "True," Commander Park agreed, "but they've never targeted civilian populations on this scale. The Centrarchs have shown they'll kill billions without hesitation. If they win this war, do you think they'll let humanity remain independent? We've grown too powerful. They'll see us as a threat." Admiral Kim pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared. It showed Earth's fleet, thousands of ships hidden in subspace pockets around human territory. "We've prepared for this possibility. Our ships and weapons are more advanced than either the Meridians or Centrarchs know. We've kept our true strength hidden, learning from their war while developing technology they can't imagine." The council chamber grew quiet as he continued. "The Centrarchs think this new weapon makes them invincible. They're wrong. Our scientists cracked quantum lock technology years ago. We can deploy our entire fleet faster than they can blink. We can end this war before they know what hit them." Commander Park stepped forward again. "We're not suggesting we join the Meridians as allies. We're suggesting we stop the Centrarchs from killing more innocent people. And when we're done, we'll make sure neither side can threaten peace in this galaxy again." The council debated for hours. Some wanted to wait longer to gather more information. Others worried about the cost of war, even a short one. But as they watched the recordings of the dying planet again and again, the truth became clear. Humanity could no longer stand by and watch. Finally, the council president stood. "We will put it to a vote. The question before us is simple. Does humanity join this war to stop the Centrarchs and protect civilian worlds?" The voting took 5 minutes. The result appeared on every screen in the chamber. 48 votes for intervention, 2 votes against. Admiral Kim didn't waste any time. He opened a secure channel to all Earth fleet commanders as he walked out of the chamber. This is Admiral Kim. Implementation of Operation Thunderstrike begins now. All ships move to pre-assigned positions. Quantum lock your battle groups on my signal. Commander Park joined him in the corridor. How long do you think it will take? She asked. Admiral Kim checked his watch. It was exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. If everything goes according to plan, 5 hours, maybe less. 5 hours to end a 300-year war. Commander Park smiled. The galaxy isn't ready for how humans fight. No, Admiral Kim agreed, watching as the first reports of fleet movement came in on his datapad. They're really not. In orbit above Earth, ships began to disappear from normal space. They moved into quantum-locked positions, invisible and untouchable, waiting for the signal to strike. The Centrarchs had no idea that their recent victory was about to become their biggest mistake. They didn't know that humans had spent centuries preparing for this moment, developing weapons and strategies that would change the face of warfare forever. The clock was ticking. In 5 hours, the galaxy would learn why it was a bad idea to make humanity angry. Across human space, soldiers and pilots prepared for battle. Ships powered up weapons that neither the Meridians nor the Centrarchs knew existed. Computer systems came online, running battle simulations and calculating attack vectors. Earth's fleet was about to show the galaxy why humans had stayed neutral for so long. They hadn't been afraid to join the war. They had been preparing to end it. Captain Mayra Lee sat in the command chair of the UES Thunderbolt, her eyes closed as she connected to the ship's neural interface. Around her, the bridge crew worked in complete silence. They all knew what was coming. They had trained for this moment for years. All systems ready, her second-in-command reported. Quantum lock status at 100%. Mayra opened her eyes. Send the ready signal to Admiral Kim. Strike Group 7 is prepared to engage. The clock on her display showed 1 o'clock Earth Standard Time. 1 hour had passed since the Council's vote. In that hour, Earth's entire fleet had moved into position around key Centrarch worlds. The enemy didn't know they were there. They couldn't know. Human ships in quantum lock were impossible to detect. Message from command, the communications officer said. Operation begins in 3 minutes. Primary targets are uploaded to all ships. Mayra touched the neural interface panel on her chair. Instantly, her mind connected to the thousands of combat drones stored in Thunderbolt's launch bays. Each drone was a miracle of human engineering, smaller than a car but more powerful than most alien warships. And with the neural interface, she could control them all at once, as if they were parts of her own body. 2 minutes, the computer announced. Mayra sent a final message to her crew. Remember your training. The Centrarchs think they know everything about space combat. They think battles have to be fought with big ships and big guns. We're about to show them how humans fight. 1 minute. Throughout the ship, soldiers connected to their own neural interfaces. Each one would control dozens of drones, moving them with the speed of thought. The Centrarchs would never know what hit them. 30 seconds. Mayra felt the familiar tingle as her mind fully merged with the drone network. She could see through thousands of electronic eyes, feel with thousands of sensors. The drones became extensions of herself, ready to move at the speed of her thoughts. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute. The Thunderbolt dropped out of quantum lock directly above the largest Centrarch shipyard in the Orion Arm. At the same instant, hundreds of other human ships appeared at similar facilities across Centrarch space. Before the enemy sensors could even register their presence, launch bays opened. Tens of thousands of drones poured out into space. Each one was piloted by a human mind, moving with impossible precision. Mayra directed her swarm toward the shipyard's defense platforms. The drones moved so fast, they left trails of blue fire in space. The Centrarch defenders never had a chance to react. Their automated defense systems were designed to track large ships, not swarms of tiny, super-fast drones. By the time they adjusted their targeting parameters, Mayre's drones had already destroyed half the defense platforms. "First wave successful," she reported, moving to Phase 2. Inside the shipyard, Centrarch crews rushed to their battle stations. Their massive warships began powering up, but they were too slow. Human drones slipped through every gap in their defenses, targeting power systems and weapons with surgical precision. "Captain," her tactical officer called out, "Centrarch communications show they're completely confused. They don't understand how we're hitting them from so many places at once." Mayre smiled. Of course they were confused. The Centrarchs, like the Meridians, thought space warfare had to follow certain rules. Big ships, big weapons, and battles that could take days or weeks. But humans had learned long ago that bigger wasn't always better. Through her neural link, she watched as her drones disabled ship after ship. They didn't destroy them. That wasn't the mission. Instead, they targeted specific systems, weapons, engines, and communications. Within minutes, the entire shipyard was effectively neutralized. "Strike Group 7 reports mission complete," Mayre announced. "All targets disabled with minimal casualties." Similar reports began coming in from other strike groups. Across Centrarch space, humanity's drone swarms were systematically dismantling the enemy's military infrastructure. Ships were disabled. Weapons were destroyed. Communication networks were cut off. The Centrarchs tried to fight back. They launched fighters and fired massive energy weapons into space, but they were fighting an enemy they couldn't see or understand. The drones were too small, too fast, and too smart, and behind each drone was a human mind, thinking and reacting at the speed of thought. Mayre received new orders from Admiral Kim. "All strike groups proceed to secondary targets. Remember, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to show them they can't win." The Thunderbolt quantum locked again, vanishing from normal space. Mayre's drone swarm followed, disappearing into subspace pockets that the Centrarchs didn't even know existed. In the hour since the operation began, humanity had disabled more Centrarch military assets than the Meridians had in the last 50 years. Through the neural interface, Mayre could feel the excitement of her drone pilots. They had trained for years, preparing for this moment. Now they were showing the galaxy what humans could really do. The Centrarchs had spent centuries building bigger ships and bigger weapons. Humans had spent that time thinking differently, developing technology that changed the very nature of space combat. "Status report," Mayre called out as they prepared to hit their next target. "All systems nominal," her second-in-command replied. "Drone losses at less than 2%. Crew performance exceeding expectations. The Centrarchs still haven't figured out how we're hitting them." Mayre checked the mission clock. 1 hour had passed since the operation began. In that hour, humanity had done more damage to the Centrarch war machine than anyone thought possible, and they had done it without destroying a single ship or taking a single life. "Prepare for next deployment," she ordered. "Let's show them what else humans can do." The Thunderbolt moved through quantum-locked space, invisible and untouchable. Inside the ship, Mayre's crew prepared for their next strike. They all knew this was just the beginning. In the next hour, humanity would unleash even more surprises on their enemy. The Centrarchs were about to learn that making humanity angry was the biggest mistake they had ever made. And they were learning it the hard way. Commander Jaiwan Kang stared at the streams of data flowing across his screens in the Cyber Command Center. His team had spent 2 hours preparing for this moment. Now, as the clock showed 2:00 Earth Standard Time, they were ready to launch the biggest cyber attack in human history. "All teams report ready," his chief analyst said, "waiting for your command." Jaiwan took a deep breath. While Captain Lee's drone strikes had confused the Centrarchs, his team's job was to break them completely. Begin Operation Digital Storm. Across the command center, hundreds of cyber warfare specialists activated their neural interfaces. Unlike the drone pilots, they weren't controlling physical machines. Instead, they were sending their minds directly into the Centrarch's computer networks. First firewall breached, someone reported. Their security is exactly where our scouts said it would be. Jai-1 smiled. For years, humanity had secretly placed tiny quantum computers throughout Centrarch space. These hidden devices had mapped every part of the enemy's networks. The Centrarchs never found them because they didn't know such small computers could exist. Team 1, target their weapons control systems. Jai-1 ordered. Team 2, take their communications. Team 3, you have navigation and life support. Remember, we're not here to kill. We're here to shut them down. The attack moved faster than anyone expected. Human cyber warriors slipped through Centrarch security like it wasn't even there. Within minutes, they had control of critical systems across hundreds of worlds. At the same time, Lieutenant Sun Woo Choi led his special operations team toward the main Centrarch command center on their capital world. His ship, completely invisible thanks to quantum lock technology, landed silently on the roof of the massive building. Strike Team Alpha in position, Sun Woo reported, waiting for Cyber Team confirmation. You have green light, Jai-1's voice came through his neural link. All security systems are under our control. You won't meet any automated resistance. Sun Woo signaled his team. 20 soldiers in advanced stealth suits moved out of the ship. Their suits bent light around them, making them completely invisible. They carried weapons that could stun or kill, but their orders were clear. No deaths unless absolutely necessary. Moving to first objective, Sun Woo whispered, though he didn't need to. Their neural links let them communicate silently. Inside the command center, chaos was spreading. G1's cyber attack had shut down everything from door controls to gravity systems. Centrarch officers ran through the halls, trying to understand what was happening to their supposedly unbeatable security systems. Sun Woo's team moved through the confusion like ghosts. When they met Centrarch soldiers, they used stun weapons to knock them out quietly. No one raised an alarm because all the alarms had been disabled. Central command room ahead, one of Sun Woo's team reported. High-ranking officers inside. Commander Kang, are you ready? Sun Woo asked through his neural link. Ready, Jai-1 replied. Beginning final phase now. In the Cyber Command Center, Jai-1 gave the signal. His teams launched their most devastating attack yet. Every screen in the Centrarch Command Center went dark. When they came back on, they showed a simple message in the Centrarch language. Surrender or be disabled completely. The Centrarch leaders stared at the message in disbelief. Then the doors to their command room opened. Sun Woo's team appeared, seeming to fade into existence as they deactivated their stealth suits. Gentlemen, Sun Woo said in perfect Centrarch language, I suggest you read that message carefully. One of the Centrarch officers reached for a weapon. Sun Woo's team stunned him before his hand was halfway there. The others raised their hands slowly. How? The highest-ranking Centrarch asked, how did you get past our defenses? We've been past your defenses for years, Sun Woo explained. While you were building bigger ships and bigger weapons, we were thinking differently. Every computer, every security system, every piece of technology you rely on. We've had access to all of it. In the Cyber Command Center, Jai-1 watched through Sun Woo's helmet camera. Lieutenant, show them what else we can do. Sun Woo nodded. Watch your screens. Every display in the room lit up with real-time images from across Centrarch space. They showed hundreds of disabled ships, thousands of captured weapon platforms, and dozens of command centers, just like this one being secured by human special forces. 2 hours, Sun Woo said. That's how long it took us to take control of your entire military infrastructure. We could shut down life support on every one of your ships right now. We could crash your navigation systems and send your fleets into their own suns. We could destroy everything you've built. The Centrarch leaders looked at each other in growing horror. Their mighty empire, which had fought the Meridians to a standstill for 3 centuries, had been completely defeated in just 2 hours. "But we're not going to do any of those things," Sun Wu continued. "We're not here to destroy you. We're here to stop you from destroying others. Your planet killer weapon. We've already dismantled every copy of it. Your shipyards. They'll never build another weapon of mass destruction." Jai 1 sent another message to every screen. "The war is over. Your choice now is simple. Surrender and live in peace, or resist and lose everything." The Centrarch leaders didn't take long to decide. As the clock moved toward 3:00 Earth Standard Time, the first surrender orders went out to what remained of their fleet. Sun Wu looked around the command center, at the mighty Centrarch leaders now sitting quietly under guard. "Commander Kang, mission accomplished. The capital is secure." In the Cyber Command Center, Jai 1 leaned back in his chair. His teams had just won a battle that most people would have thought impossible. They had defeated an empire not with bombs or bullets, but with lines of code and careful planning. "Good work, everyone," he said to his teams. "But stay alert. We've still got 2 hours to go, and you know the Centrarchs might have some surprises left." He didn't know how right he was. Even as the surrender orders went out, some Centrarch commanders were preparing one final desperate move. They thought they had one weapon that even the humans couldn't stop. They were wrong. Dr. Yunhee Nam worked quickly in her laboratory aboard the Earth Defense Station. Her hands moved steadily over the quantum shield controls as warnings flashed across every screen. The clock showed 4:00 Earth Standard Time, and she had just received terrible news. "Admiral Kim," she called through her neural link, "the readings are confirmed. 3 Centrarch supercarriers just dropped out of hyperspace. They're carrying planet-killer weapons, and they're heading straight for Earth." Admiral Daho Kim's voice came back immediately. "How long until they're in firing range?" 10 minutes, Yunhee replied. "But don't worry. I've been waiting for them to try this." For 15 years, Yunhee had led the team that studied the Centrarch's weapons. When they first developed their planet killer, she had already designed a defense against it. Now it was time to show them what human science could really do. "All stations." Admiral Kim's voice rang through every ship and station in Earth's defense network. "Execute Protocol Mirror Shield. Dr. Nam has command of defensive systems." Yunhee's fingers flew across her control panel. Around Earth, thousands of small satellites activated. Each one contained a quantum shield generator that she had designed. Apart, they were nothing special. Together, they would do something that the Centrarchs thought was impossible. "Centrarch ships launching planet-killer weapons," someone reported. "Impact in 8 minutes." "Right on schedule," Yunhee said calmly. "Admiral, please make sure all our ships are behind the shield network." The Centrarch weapons looked like small stars as they flew toward Earth. They were designed to burrow into a planet's core and make it explode. The Centrarchs thought nothing could stop them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Shield network power at 100%, Yunhee announced. "Quantum links stable. Beginning mirror protocol in 3, 2, 1. The satellites around Earth lit up all at once. They created a web of energy that covered the whole planet. But this wasn't just a normal shield. This was something new, something that only humans had figured out how to build. "Weapons entering shield range in 30 seconds, the defense computer announced. Yunhee watched her screens carefully. Everything had to be perfectly timed. "Admiral, you might want to record this. The Centrarchs are about to learn why you don't try to use physics against a human physicist." The planet-killer weapons hit the shield network. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Yunhee pressed a final button, and the shield did something amazing. Instead of trying to block the weapons, it caught their energy and sent it back the way it came. "Mirror protocol successful," Yunhee reported with a smile. "The weapon's energy is being reflected at 110% power." On his command ship, Admiral Kim watched in awe as the planet-killer weapons turned around and flew back toward the Centrarch ships. The enemy commanders didn't even have time to be surprised. Their own weapons, made stronger by Yun He's mirror shield, hit their ships with devastating force. All 3 Centrarch carriers disabled, Tactical reported. Their weapons. Admiral, their weapons didn't just damage them. The reflected energy completely melted their weapon systems. They're defenseless. Yun He's voice came over the command channel again. That's what happens when you don't understand quantum physics properly. Their weapons were powerful, but they didn't account for quantum resonance reflection. A basic mistake, really. Admiral Kim couldn't help but laugh. The Centrarchs had just tried to use their strongest weapon against Earth, and Dr. Nam had turned it into a demonstration of human scientific superiority. "Dr. Nam," he said, "remind me never to play chess with you." "Oh, this wasn't chess, Admiral," she replied. "This was basic physics. The Centrarchs just never thought anyone could reflect quantum energy like that. They'd spent so long thinking about how to break things, they forgot to study how things work together." Across Earth's defense network, soldiers and scientists cheered. The Centrarchs' last desperate attack had failed completely. But more than that, humanity had shown them something important. Every weapon they built could be turned against them. "Send a message to the Centrarch ships," Admiral Kim ordered. "Tell them we'll accept their surrender now." The Centrarch commanders didn't take long to respond. Their mighty ships, now floating helplessly in space, had no choice. One by one, they transmitted their surrender. Yun He looked at her clock. It showed 4:45 Earth Standard Time. 15 minutes left, she said. "Do you think they have any more surprises for us?" "If they do," Admiral Kim replied, "I'm sure you'll have another surprise ready for them." In her laboratory, Yun He smiled as she checked her other projects. The Centrarchs didn't know it yet, but she had developed countermeasures for every weapon they had ever built. The mirror shield was just the beginning. "One more hour," she said to herself. "One more hour to show them why picking a fight with humans was their biggest mistake." Around Earth, the quantum shield network continued to shine, a beautiful web of light protecting humanity's home. But it wasn't just a shield anymore. Thanks to Dr. Nam's work, it was a message to the entire galaxy. Humans didn't just copy technology. They improved it, changed it, and sometimes turned it back against those who would use it for harm. The clock moved steadily toward the final hour of the war. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn the full extent of humanity's capabilities, and the Centrarchs would learn that their worst defeat had come not from their old enemies, the Meridians, but from the humans they had dismissed as too young and too weak to matter. They had never been more wrong. Fleet Commander Hanji Park stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Peacemaker, as it dropped out of quantum lock near the Centrarch High Council station. The clock showed 5 o'clock Earth Standard Time. 4 hours had passed since humanity joined the war, and now it was time to end it completely. "All strike groups in position," her tactical officer reported. "The Centrarch station's defenses are active, but they won't be a problem." Hanji nodded. After Dr. Nam's demonstration with the mirror shield, most Centrarch forces had surrendered. But the High Council, the true rulers of the Centrarch Dominion, still refused to admit defeat. They had locked themselves in their most secure station, thinking they were safe. "Open a channel to the station," Hanji ordered. "Let's give them one last chance." The main screen lit up, showing the faces of the Centrarch High Council. They looked angry and afraid at the same time. Their supreme leader stepped forward, trying to look strong. "This station is impregnable," he declared. "You cannot reach us here. We will never surrender to primitives like you." Hanji smiled politely. "Look at your screens," she said. "Look at what happened in the last 4 hours. Your fleets are disabled. Your weapons are useless. Your armies have surrendered. And you still think you can win. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years." The supreme leader shouted. "We will not bow to creatures who only learned to fly a few centuries ago." "That's your problem," Hanji replied calmly. "You think age means wisdom. But in the last 300 years, While you fought your endless war, we were learning, growing, thinking of new ways to do things. You'd never notice because you were too busy looking backward." She pressed a button on her command chair. "Let me show you what that means." Around the Centrarch station, space itself seemed to ripple. Hundreds of human ships appeared, their quantum lock systems creating a beautiful light show as they revealed themselves. But that wasn't what made the Centrarch leaders gasp in shock. Between the human ships, thousands of Meridian vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Their crystal ships glowed with power, weapons ready but not firing. "Yes," Hanji said to the stunned Centrarchs. "While you were preparing your last attack on Earth, we were talking to the Meridians. They agreed that this war has gone on long enough. They also agreed that humanity's way of ending it was better than continuing the destruction." Admiral Kim's voice joined the conversation. "The Meridian High Command has accepted our peace terms. They will help us enforce them. You can either accept those same terms, or," Hanji finished his sentence, "or we can demonstrate one last piece of human technology, something that makes our mirror shield look simple." The Supreme Leader laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You're bluffing. You've shown everything you have we?" Hanji asked. She nodded to her tactical officer. "Show them test site 1." The screen split, showing a distant star system. In it, an abandoned Centrarch battle station floated in space. Hanji pressed another button, and something amazing happened. The space around the station twisted, folded, and then the station vanished. "We call it quantum displacement," Hanji explained. "We can move anything, no matter how big, to any point in space we choose. That battle station is now orbiting a star 500 light-years away. Would you like to see what happens if we make a mistake with the calculations, even a tiny error?" The Centrarch leaders looked at each other in horror. They had just watched humanity casually break the laws of physics as they understood them. "What are your terms?" the Supreme Leader asked quietly. Hanji sent them a data file. "First, all planet killer weapons and similar devices will be destroyed. Second, both the Centrarchs and Meridians will accept human oversight of their military activities. Third, we will establish a new galactic council where all species have equal voice, regardless of their age or technology level." She paused, making sure they understood. "Finally, Earth will lead a joint task force to protect civilian worlds from any future conflicts. We won't let anyone use weapons of mass destruction ever again." The Supreme Leader read the terms carefully. Behind him, the other council members whispered urgently. They all knew they had no choice. Humanity had beaten them so completely, so efficiently, that continuing to resist would be suicide. "We accept your terms," the Supreme Leader finally said. Hanji checked her clock. It showed 5:00 Earth Standard Time. "Congratulations," she said. "You just helped end a 300-year war in exactly 5 hours." Later that day, representatives from Earth, the Meridian Alliance, and the Centrarch Dominion met on the neutral ground of the Earth Defense Station. Admiral Kim led the human delegation, with Commander Park, Captain Lee, Commander Kang, Lieutenant Choi, and Dr. Nam at his side. As they signed the peace treaties, Admiral Kim thought about how much the galaxy had changed in just 5 hours. Humanity had shown everyone a new way of thinking about technology, about warfare, and about peace. "The war is over," he announced to the gathered representatives. "Now the real work begins. We must build a galaxy where intelligence and wisdom matter more than age and power, where technology serves peace instead of destruction, where every species, no matter how young or old, has a voice in shaping our future." He looked at his team, the people who had helped humanity change the galaxy in just 5 hours. They had each played their part perfectly. Hanji's strategy, Mei-Rei's drone warfare, Jaewon's cyber attacks, Sun Wu's special operations, and Yun-He's brilliant inventions. "Remember this day," he told the gathered delegates. "Remember that humanity joined this war not to destroy, but to protect. Not to conquer, but to unite. And remember that when we humans decide to do something, we do it completely, efficiently, and in our own unique way. The clock showed 5:59 Earth Standard Time. In one more minute, the 5-hour war would officially end. But its effects would reshape the galaxy forever. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as peacekeepers and innovators. The war was over. The future had begun, and it belonged to those who could think differently.